This channel is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence before making any investment decisions. Hi, this is Joe Rabil with Invest Like a Pro. In today's video, I do a stock market update. As of Thursday's close for Friday morning, I run through the market conditions and then also make sure that I cover each of the time frames, monthly, weekly, daily, and hourly, looking at both trend and momentum. Now, one of the things I want you guys to understand about this specific video for Friday is that it is meant as an educational tool in terms of being able to apply this to any instrument you'd like to trade. And as a part of that, what I want to do is make sure that in addition to looking at the analysis, which we'll do first, I want to show you a specific trade setup on an intraday basis and how that's set up in multiple time frames. So it's always good to look at specific trade setups. I'm going to do one on the SPY and show you how it played out and how the optimum entry ended up not playing out, but you had to be patient to get the proper entry. For those of you who'd like to learn more about the courses, you can go to rabilstockresearch.com/services. But one thing I would suggest if you're fairly new to this and you haven't gotten the book yet, I am offering at a discount right now. If you go to rabilstockresearch.com/book, you can find out more information. Okay, let's start with the market conditions. And I do like to start from the bottom and then work my way up. And the sentiment did drop pretty significantly. We went from 37% more bulls than bears down to 29%. I am using the Investors Intelligence survey of investment advisors. So you just get an idea of where these professionals are standing right now. I have them at neutral based on the difference between the two. Because of the big drop, it's actually pretty positive that we were up in we hit 40% about 3 weeks ago. And now we've already dropped down to 29%. So we got to think about the market hasn't really even pulled back at all, and the bulls are really dropping off. So I think we have to respect that. Now, the overbought oversold oscillator, that's the RSI 5 on the weekly, is still hanging around this overbought condition up at 73. And, I mean, it's considered negative. I'd like to see it drop down a little bit closer to at least 50 to alleviate a little bit of the overbought condition that we have right now. But as we start to move into the volatility, that's where it gets a little bit more bullish. So the daily is at neutral, weekly is positive. I'm going to show you that in a second. And then we've got basically positive trends and good momentum, all right, across the board on these. And these are the primary tools that we want to be looking at for the conditions. These carry more weight. The two of these carry more weight than these bottom two for sure. And then this probably carries a little bit more weight than these bottom two as well. But we know that if we have all of this working in our favor, the potential upside is a lot more substantial. So right now they're neutral, and we're going to have to see how the volatility shifts change here, because if this continues to volatility continues to increase on the daily, then it could set up for something a little bit more significant to the downside. Let's go ahead and start looking at these, though. Look at the volatility on the daily. You see how the average true range, which is the black line, is climbing above the moving average, which is an 18 MA of the average true range on the daily. And it's hanging in there, like it's hanging above, but it hasn't gotten this line to turn up yet. It's getting close. Any further upside, and we're going to have this, and it's actually going to turn the daily volatility to negative. So we got to keep an eye on that. If that happens, then I would think we get either more consolidation, or we get this line to actually roll over to the point where we pull back and get this, to fill in some of this area between where price is and the 18-week. But the underlying condition on the market from a longer term standpoint, from the weekly standpoint, I think is very bullish. This is it hitting another new low here. So I don't see any real signs of a reversal yet. I mean, typically you get at least some kind of an uptick, even if this is still below the decline, you see some kind of an uptick take place. And a lot of times even that's a little premature. You work up and you come back down and turn around like that. So I don't see anything. I would think that a pullback on the higher time frame weekly would actually be a buying opportunity. It's something I'm watching just based on what I'm seeing here, and the trends, obviously. Let's take a look at those right now. So, excuse me. So we've got a bullish trend on the monthly, 18 above the 40, both lines rising. Now, the best conditions are where the lines are like this. I mean, not typically where they're tight together like that. I mean, this is really kind of here to here is kind of the condition you want. That's showing a really nice backdrop where the both lines are acting as a buddy system together. Then this starts to accelerate a little bit away from the 40. You see how this is rising at a faster rate. So this is where it starts to get a little bit more dangerous of some kind of a correction. You can see that without looking at anything here. We could just look at these two moving averages, and we're looking for a somewhat parallel nature to them. Now, these are parallel, but they're tight together. So it doesn't give me the same, and that's part of the reason why we don't have a lot of strength. This isn't bad, but we don't have a lot of strength in the DI. We don't show the real dynamics based on this. So normally when I have this in place, you have a very strong ADX condition at the same time. All right. Let's look at the weekly chart, because I think, the way this is playing out, we got a move in the negative DI on this decline, but we never got the ADX going. And then we turned on a dime at the zero line and got a very strong move to the upside in green. And so I'm leaning towards this pausing, if it can, at least pause, maybe pull back a little bit, and get this maybe to come down a little bit closer. But at the same time, that looks to me like it's going to be an opportunity to be a buyer. That's how I would look at it. Now, if we do get that pullback and we go to another new high, at that point, we're going to have to evaluate what's really taking place. Now, here's the thing we got to keep an eye on. We're at the prior high. If we go to a minor new high and then we start to show signs of a reversal, and this ADX does not carry much more than it has, it's only at 25 right now, and it's significantly lower than the prior peak. If we turn this down, let's say this continues to contract, this moves up, and we actually get a contraction signal on the weekly chart, and we start to move this down, and it fails to get above 25, to me, that would be a much more dangerous signal. It's the only thing we have to be on the lookout for over the next, 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how this plays out. Right now, I'm just not seeing the real signs of consistent distribution. There's been a few distribution days, but nothing significant that leads me to believe that we're getting ready to really get rocked to the downside. But this would be the first kind of early warning sign if this ADX can't carry much more before we start to turn down. So something we'll have to watch as time goes on here. If we look at the daily, so we got this contraction going. You see how these are contracting together? But now they've come together. They kind of kissed and then they bounced off, and then they kissed again and actually did a minor little crossover. But now look at how green is moving up again. So what we're going to have to respect is if we get a breakout here. You see if green DI breaks out and price breaks out. So if this takes out this high and we get green DI to confirm, then we're going to have to respect that. Okay, we'll have to respect the fact that the ADX had a monster reading up almost 60, and it's worked off the overbought condition. It's gotten low enough, and if we kick it off again, we're going to have to, like I said, we're going to have to respect a move potentially starting again to the upside. Right now, I'm still kind of waiting. I want to see a little bit more confirmation. I mean, we could easily come back down and consolidate. I just want to see these lines come together a little bit closer and get this MACD line a little bit closer to the zero line. I'd love to see this get a little bit lower. It's at 20. I mean, that's not bad. But if we got it into the teens and these lines came together and this got to here, now we'd have a really juicy buy setup if it plays out that way. Now, it rarely gives you those kind of layup opportunities. It's probably, if it corrects, it might be kind of hard and make it a little bit more difficult. But we got to keep our eye on the ball here, and that is watching for a pullback on the weekly chart to offer an opportunity. not really be shaken out by any kind of volatility increase on the daily chart. We know the volatility is starting to increase a little bit, so we got to see if it plays out. If it fails, so if we go back and look at the volatility, does it fail to cause this to really go up, or if it does it not last very long and then turn right down? Or do we get this to come up and turn and really get things going in terms of volatility? Then we could get more of a pullback and come into the zone of support, which I think is around 4550 to 4600. I think is really where true support stands. So the only other thing we can look at here is what's taken place on the hourly. So we had really good strength on the buyers on the way up, right? Then we make this move to the upside right here and nobody's home. You see how there's just nothing there? See how strong this move is, and you get the readings to the upside, both of them exceeding 50, all right? And then we pull back and we go to a new high in price, and this can't even get above 20. I think this barely got to 20. So that's a huge warning flag to be on the lookout for. And then we get the big reversal. So this is where we look for a reversal, right? And the reversal happened on this time frame. It doesn't mean we're going to reverse on the higher time frame. It just says we're going to look for a reversal on this time frame. We got that, and it came down, and it actually found support between the 18 and the 40 and has now rallied back up. Now, on this subsequent rally, we got a little bit more sign of improvement in the buyers, but not significant. I mean, it did get above 25, but it wasn't significant. But then pulled back, rallied up, tried to make another new high, and we got no strength here. Well, we should be on the lookout for reversal. Well, now we've gotten that reversal, but it doesn't have any follow through. Do you see what I mean? Like, we're not, so if we get a reversal that creates a massive amount of negative DI and it causes the higher time frame to break, then we could get into a situation where it could turn into something more significant. I really expected when this broke the 18, I really was expecting this to come down and correct further, but we haven't gotten the 18 to actually roll over. I was sort of assuming that we'd have a bad day, close down near the low, and this line would actually roll over. It just hasn't quite done that yet. But I think we have to be on the lookout for that at this point. So that gives us our update. Let me just do a really quick, so I just switched the time frames on this, and I want to show what took place on Thursday, yesterday, on the pullback and what I've got here is a 30-minute chart in the bottom left, a 5-minute chart in the bottom right, and then a 1-minute chart in the upper right. Okay, and then in the upper left, I put another 5-minute chart with the RSI, and I've overlaid the 18 MA on the hourly here, so we can kind of see what's going on. I like looking at the zigzag on the middle time frame. So look at how this pulled back. Look at this pullback, beautiful pullback, 4 red bars right into a rising 18 on the 30-minute chart. And this came around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Look at this beautiful pinch play. See this pinch play that's set up? Now, it was right underneath the 0 line. However, the strength of the up move with the gap up early in the day, and then we get the pullback. I mean, I think you have to respect this. Now, respecting it and buying it are two different things, meaning I'm not doing anything unless the lower time frame gives me confirmation, but I'm willing to look at this, and there's a big reason why, because we have an undercut and rally pattern. You see how this undercut these lows and then had the gap up above, came back and tested that key level, and then turned up. So ideally, we'd want to look at something right here, but if you look at the way this played out, and you got to follow the rules. So I go through all this in my course. I give a lot of detail on this. So we're pulling back to this area here, which is this low down on the 5-minute chart. And let's look at the 5-minute chart. And I don't want to come here and say, oh, well, we've got this drop here and it's coming into a 18 on the 30 minutes, so we want to buy. I suggest if we have serious overrun, I want to take the second signal. You see how we got a lot of sellers here and we got a lot of overrun. I'm not going to just buy the moment this starts to emerge. I'm not going to buy the first crossover of the MACD. And in most cases, when we have 1, 2, 3 bars, big bars, I'm not going to take the close above the 40. In most cases, I'm going to wait for some kind of a retracement, preferably the first pullback to the 18. Well, look at what happened. It just kept going. All right. Sometimes this happens. And if you're going to be a disciplined trader, you're going to have to accept the fact that you're not like, this is the ideal zone to get in on this trade. This is where I want to get in. I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking at the whole pattern. This is where I want to get in, but it doesn't give me the opportunity. So do I just throw in the towel and say, I'm going to buy anyway? I mean, I don't do that. I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. Now I'm waiting for the first signal. First signal is here. We've got a lot of confirmation in the trend strength, and we get our pinch play. So if we go and look at where this is, this happened around 1445. So 1445 is this pullback here on the 1 minute chart, right? Now, here's the problem. We have an ABC like this, but so the trend line would be like that. Do you see how we don't really have a trend line to draw, even though this is a zero line reversal with a power trend in place? So I can't do this trade down here. I can't get it. I'm not getting a good opportunity here. So again, do I just throw in the towel and say, it's all right, I'm just going to buy down here? I don't do that. All right. I'm going to wait for the first signal on this time frame. And that's where, so the first signal is really the 2 time frame pinch, which happens right here. See that? We've got, in fact, let me just make sure you can really see. So this would be the first signal right here, but the 18 was still kind of floating around, cupping around. It wasn't quite there yet. So you could wait for the next one, which would have been here, which again was another pinch play. All right. And that could have been an entry, or you wait for it to come back to the 18 again. And this is actually a reverse divergence signal with the low ADX in place. All right. So either one of these, I think, are acceptable entries. I decided to just put in this level is a 475.80. I mean, it's a ballpark entry. Depending on either one of these entries, it could have been. And I'm using I'm using basically the low of this bottom here. So it's about a 20-cent move. Now, keep in mind, it's a 20% risk, I should say. Keep in mind, normally I like to give it a little bit more room below these kind of lows, but because of the way this played out, it made such a big move and it's late in the day, I am not going to give it maybe, if I use the average true range stop, which I talk about in my course again, it'd probably be even more, it might even be double the stop. I might even be using like 40 cents or something like that. Now, if I got a trigger down here like that, and I wanted to use a 40-cent stop, that makes sense to me because, yeah, there's probably a significant amount of upside. But here, if I'm doing this trade and I'm doing it a little bit later in the day, it's 3 o'clock, just after 3 o'clock, I want to use a tighter stop. But look at the way this played out. It doesn't seem like it's such a great trade, right? We got a really late entry on the 5 minute. We got a really late entry on the, not late, but later. It was pulled back and then it went up. I mean, you feel like you're waiting forever to get this trigger going. But 20 cents here, you're already taking one target here. You take another target here. You take a third target. So let's just actually do these. So this would be 476, 476.20. 476.40, and then 476.60, 476.80, and 477. It would have gone, depending on how you want to do it, you might just take target, and be out after 3. Or you could trail a stop on the last one. You might have actually been stopped out on this pullback. In fact, you would have. But you would have hit 2 or 3 targets before all that happened. So, I mean, I'm just showing you an example that isn't even perfect. It's not like it worked out perfectly. And I'm willing to accept that with my approach because I want to stick with low risk, not necessarily the low price. Low price would have been getting in down at 472.75. Or even on this pullback here at 475. I mean, yeah, those are low price levels, but I don't think they're low risk levels. So use this to your advantage. I think if you start understanding multiple time frames, you can start to find these trades that don't, on the onset, look like you're late on this signal. But if you've got momentum on your side and you're following your plan, you can still make good money. All right. That's the update for the week. Have a good weekend.